What's up, baseball players? I'm Coach Stan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher. In today's video, we're going to talk about the best curveball locations that you need to master to be at your best. All right, so before we get going, if you're looking for how to throw a curveball, if you need to improve your curveball, check out the links in the description below. I have basically the #1 video here on YouTube about how to actually throw a curveball. Today, we're going to talk about curveball locations, but obviously improving yours, making it sharper, making it more deceptive, and getting just the technique right, especially if you're a younger pitcher, is really important. So look for my how to throw a curveball video in the description below. So today we're going to talk about curveball locations, which once you get the hang of throwing a curveball well, the mastery of where you throw it is really, really pivotal, because you've all watched in a Major League Baseball game, guy throws a curveball, breaks right down the center of the plate, dude hits it into the bleachers like 85 rows deep. And so it doesn't matter how sharp your curveball is, if you don't locate it well, you're going to eventually get to this point where hitters don't really mind you throwing it. So don't minimize the quality of your curveball because of bad location quality. So there's 3 main locations that you want to look for, and I'm going to overlay them here using the magic of the internet and video. But the first location is breaking into the zone for a called strike. And let me define this thing first, which is the starting versus ending location. So as a pitcher, the way you locate your curveball is by choosing a visual starting location and then throwing it for that, knowing that your curveball is going to break a certain amount and make it to the ending location. So what that means is, if you're trying to hit my mitt here and your curveball breaks this much, you're going to aim for my nose and try to start it there so that it breaks to my glove. That's how that works. Now, if your curveball has more lateral break, say it's more of like a 1-7, you're going to start, and you want it to end up right down the middle of the strike zone. You're not going to aim for my nose, because if it starts at my nose, it's going to break over here. So you might aim for my ear, or the side of the catcher's mask, knowing that there's some lateral break you have to account for. So the starting location is very different than the ending location. And so effectively, you have to know how your curveball breaks, like how much, and what the direction of break is. It's either going to be like this or like that. And so once you say, okay, this is my typical curveball, this is where I want it to end up, therefore I have to start it X amount higher and to the side or whatever to get it to go to that location. And so visually, when you see your favorite pitcher on TV throwing a curveball for a called strike, he's starting it for the catcher's mask, and then it's breaking to the mitt. He's not trying to throw it at the mitt, because it would break into the dirt at that point. So in this video, I'm going to put a green dot representing the starting point and a blue dot representing the ending point. So the 3 locations that I'm talking about are the ending locations, where we want the pitch to cross the strike zone or where a hitter would make contact with it. So I just want to make sure you understand the difference between those two, because when I say location, I mean the ending location, but that's not where you would look and try to start the pitch, since it has break on it. So the first location is down the middle, and this is just to give yourself more margin for error. Now, when you throw a pitch down the middle, your goal is always to have it at the bottom of the strike zone. So you're never going to intentionally throw a curveball for the belt, though you might there sometimes, and you'll get a take. Sometimes you'll get a 3-run homer other times. But in general, if you're throwing something down the middle, you would like it to be at the very bottom border of the strike zone, so like just below the kneecap, right? But when you're trying to throw it for a called strike, like 0-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 1-0, anytime you're even or behind, you're typically going to choose to throw your curveball down the middle of the plate. Now, that's important because this goes back to margin for error. And I'll put a link in the description below about my video about that. But margin for error means how much room do you give yourself to miss and still do the job, which is to throw a called strike. On the first pitch, if you're throwing it down the middle, you want them to swing, because if they swing at a first pitch curveball, they're kind of dumb. But B, you're aiming down the middle to give yourself the best chance of getting a called strike. If you aim for the very corner on the black, if you missed even by 2 inches away, it's going to be a ball, and that's not what you want. You want to get ahead with it. So you're going to throw down the middle when you're even or behind, or the first pitch, which is obviously an even count. So the next location, this is the hardest location, and this is something that might take you 10 more years to master, depending on how old you were. I'd never fully mastered it, to be quite honest, is the 1-2 or 0-1 pitch. So this is the one where I want weak contact, and I want it to be a borderline ball strike on the outer part of the plate. So this is going to sort of like, when they get on their front foot, they're going to have this butt out swing, and they're going to make contact like this. And this is different because I don't really want them to swing and miss, and I do want them to strike out if they take it. That's the difference. When I'm 1-2 or 0-1, I'm not really as much hunting for a strikeout in most situations. Really, I just want the at-bat to be over with, because 0-1, I get a 2-pitch out. On 1 and 2, I get a 4-pitch out. You don't want at-bats dragging on for 5, 6, 7 pitches. So if you're not 0-2, you should go for a location where it's going to be somewhat democratic, where they could put it in play, but they're not going to hit it hard if you make it well located. Or if they take it, they're going to probably strike out, and that's obviously a good result too. So 0-1 or 1-2, if you're throwing a curveball, you want it for the bottom border of the strike zone and the outside border. So on the outside corner, like low and away. Now, the next location is also probably pretty obvious if you're kind of checking off what might be left, and that is bouncing a curveball. And this is important. You don't just bounce it 46 feet away. Your goal should be to bounce it on the point of the plate. And at worst, it's probably going to be about 6 inches in front of the plate. Now, you've seen hitters sometimes swing and miss at a curveball that bounces almost in the grass, and that happens. But you'll get the most swings and misses if it's between about 6 inches in front and the point. And the reason that we want to throw our curveball 6 inches in front or as far back as the point is because it's going to look like a strike the longest and yet still dip beneath the strike zone by the time they swing. If it would bounce back here, it's going to be in the air when it crosses the plate. Therefore, it's not really a strikeout pitch. So let me define what a strikeout pitch is. A strikeout pitch is when the only two results are it's a ball or it's a strikeout or maybe a foul ball. So we don't want to throw an 0-2 curveball that they could put in play. We want it to be zero sum. It's either a ball or it's a strikeout. That's our goal, because 0-2, you've done so much work getting ahead of them, they don't deserve to put the ball in play. Because when they put the ball in play, some percentage of the time it's going to be a blooper, it's going to be a swinging bunt, it's going to squeak through the infield after taking 19 hops. So when you're 0-2, it makes good sense to eliminate all that bad luck and try for the strikeout. And if you're trying for a strikeout, that means if they do swing at it, they can't possibly hit it. And so that means it needs to bounce, but it can't bounce so late that it's essentially still going to be in the air. But if it bounces so early, it stops looking at it like a strike very early. So 6 inches in front to the point of the plate is your focus. And this is easy. This is actually an easy location, because if you aim at the catcher's mitt as your starting point, when you catch that curveball and pull it down, it's going to be in the dirt, it's going to be at the point, or it's going to be in the dirt in front of the plate. So this is an easy location because your visual starting point is very easy to grab hold of. All you have to do is look at the mitt, try to throw it at the mitt, and let it break into the ground. Same thing with the first pitch, the 0-0 or behind count curveball, when you're going to throw it down the middle. Pretty much you look at the catcher's mask. If you start it for that, it's going to break into the middle of the strike zone. That's a good thing. The other location down here is hard, and that's because you have to try to find the balance of it being in between them. You can't just like hammer it and pull it into the ground, and if you ease off it too much, which I don't recommend easing off it at all, then it's going to be hang up in the strike zone. So to find this really narrow location for the 0-1, 1-2 curveball, it's tough. And again, I will freely admit, I had a really sharp curveball. I never mastered this location. I couldn't hit it reliably. It's very hard. I could bounce them, and I could throw them for called strikes to a lesser extent, but it's tough. And this is why learning how to throw a curveball the right way, spending a lot of time perfecting it, using the right grip, all that stuff, that's really important, because the better you are at throwing the pitch and the more reliable the spin is, the more you can hit these locations more readily and consistently. And that's what makes your curveball really great. If you have the nastiest curveball in the world, but you only bounce it, hitters are going to stop swinging at it, and now you don't have a curveball. So that's why this is important. So if you only master 2 of these locations, let it be the one you can throw for a called strike and the one that you bounce, and that'll be enough, I promise you. I mean, I made it pretty far in baseball with just those 2 locations for the most part, so you can too. So hopefully this video was helpful. Obviously, curveball locations, this is such a critical piece of the puzzle. It's not just how you throw it, it's not just the speed and the RPMs, it's where you throw it and your strategy and your consistency in getting called strikes with it, all right? Thanks again for watching. I'm Coach Dan. I'll see you here in the next video.